Our next guest, who is sitting right here, last time he was here, is promoting the terrific film that earned him an Oscar nomination, American Fiction, the one, the only, from the agency, Jeffrey Wright. Good to see you, sir. How are you?
Good to see you, Rich. I'm great.
Oh, my
great
gosh.
to be back.
So much to... This is the only way I could start our interview. How does it feel, Jeffrey Wright, to be the fan of a team that's gotten ownership right?
Yes.
That's gotten the front office right?
Yes.
That's gotten the coach right?
Yes.
And it's gotten the quarterback right?
Oh, yeah.
In the Washington Commanders. How is this hitting you right now, Jeffrey Wright?
It feels good. Long time coming. Somebody asked me, like, how do you translate, what it feels like for the team to be where it is now for someone who's not a sports fan? And I think you put it like this. You had a long childhood friend that you absolutely adored. And that friend's been in a coma for 2 decades and finally woke up and you're throwing the ball again together. You're out in the yard. I mean, it's been like,
that's how it feels,
we all know how brutal it's been. But I think it starts really, and I don't think it can be overstated. It starts at the top. And it just shows you what leadership, what strong, smart, respectful leadership means to a franchise. Tells you how abysmal the leadership had been. I mean, just destroyed the franchise. But Josh Harris, he's doing the right things. He's assembling the right people. I think it seems he's letting football people do football things. And you got, Peters has a good eye for talent, because the old, the success of the old teams, yes, was Joe Gibbs and George Allen and the players, but it was Bobby Beathard and Charlie Casserly as well, who were bringing in the right personnel for the right jobs. And so, yeah, we've got a great organization again, and we, like it like we once did, and that's all that. And the difference. And I've known him since I was a kid, but don't want to, blow smoke. But I think it starts at the top. It starts with leadership.
You've known Josh Harris?
Yeah.
Since you were a kid?
Oh, we went to summer camp together.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So you're in the same bunk as Josh Harris?
No, I was in the same bunk, same cabin with his brother, with Gabe, who's working for the organization and works for the larger organization as well. But it moved back down to D.C. to work with the Commanders. But yeah, Josh was I think a year or two older than me.
Okay.
But he was a good athlete. He was a good wrestler. I think he wrestled at Penn. And he's a good soccer player. But, I've known him since I don't know, it was 1975.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow. So you made s'mores with the owner of the Washington Commanders or something like that? I don't know what else you were doing.
Yeah. But he,
wow.
I'd kind of lost touch with him, but I stayed in touch with Gabe, his brother, even throughout college.
Right.
Because he went to a school. He went to Sidwell Friends. I went to St. Albans in D.C., so we were like a few blocks away from each other. And then when I heard news that Snyder was considering, putting the team up for sale, finally.
You didn't believe it at first, I'm sure.
I reached out to them. I said, hey, what have you been doing for the last 30 years? And are you in? He said, oh, it's early days yet, but we'll see. And here we are. Great move.
You're not wrong. Obviously, ownership in any sports team, obviously, it makes a big difference because the fish and the head and everything can rot from it, and it can also emanate positively from it. And I know they let football people do football things. They did bring in Bob Myers as well as available from
the basketball players. Basketball people do football things.
Well, but it's knowing character, it's knowing a style, it's knowing who can fit, it's knowing how to build a successful organization.
A winning culture.
Heck yeah. And that said, though, getting the kid's all right. I mean, Jayden Daniels.
Yeah.
Just the thing about him too is he just. It's so calm.
Yeah.
Everything. His feet are calm in the pocket. His body language is calm on the sidelines.
It's expected.
It kind of is.
He expects to do well.
But sometimes that doesn't bode well for a rookie, right? Where you don't know the things you don't know, and then you're assuming that it doesn't take hard work to get it, but that's not him.
Yeah, I don't think he's taking it for granted. I think he's, I've never met him. I've watched him play all season, and just what I understand about him I think he's got his ego and his balance and his talent in balance.
Yes.
You know, when the ego is bigger than the talent, big problems. You know, but when I think he just seems to have, he's grounded. And what I appreciate about him, from what I've heard, is, often with a player like this, a player of his skill set, he's really a pocket passer, but he can run. It's said, oh, great athletic ability, as though it all comes so easily. And I'll say it, particularly with black quarterbacks. Oh, natural athlete. Mm-hmm. That guy's apparently is the first at practice every morning, 5 a.m., one of the last to leave, first to arrive, one of the last to leave. Hard work, studious, student of the game. We've heard about him using VR headsets and things to study opposing defenses since he was in college. The guy is putting in the work. And I think the expectation of that, it seems to me, he has for himself is based not only on his abilities, but on the work that he's put in. And so that's translating, I think, to the team as well. You've seen some of these mic'd up moments on the sidelines. Glad we got 5. There's an expectation that good things can happen, as we saw, particularly as we saw and after that Bears game. We can find a way out of this. Likewise with the Cowboys game, that pass to Terry McLaurin at the end, make it happen with seconds left. Kicking game is another story, but there's still the expectation that good things are going to happen, and that's what you go to sports events for anyway, as a fan of your team, with the expectation that something good will happen. And that's what there was a wonderful moment after that Hail Mary in Chicago that I saw on the stupid internet. Someone posted a video. There was a fan. He was in the about 50-yard line in the stands, and he posted a video and he commenting on that play. Mm-hmm. And he says the most remarkable thing. As the play's unfolding, he says, "I still believe in something." Play unfolds. He's like, "Come on, man. I still believe in something." He's willing something good to happen. It's fanaticism. It's completely irrational. Right. But there's the opportunity for it to play out. It's drama. It's storytelling on the field. And he says, throw that ball, bro. He throws the ball, boom. And the place goes insane and he loses his mind. But that's why we're there, for the expectation of something good. And particularly now, in this world that we're living in, it has meaning. And yeah, man, that guy's delivering. He's delivering good things. And it's been a long time.
You're ecstatic. Look at you. I love it.
Sport, man. Great. It's only in sport where this stuff happens, man.
Well, but he is an avatar for a lot right now.
Yeah.
For a Commanders fan, for a DC sports fan, and he is proving worthy of having that faith and hope placed in him. And you see how the hope dictates effort, which Michael Irvin always would tell us that all the time, about how hope is powerful because it dictates effort as well. We had Terry McLaurin on in October, and the point that we brought up with him, and he kind of confirmed it, the game that really made everybody believe for sure was the Monday night win in Cincinnati. When Cincinnati was 0-2, and everyone's like, there's no way this team's going 0-3 with Burrow and Chase. And the Commanders will just come in like the Washington Generals, right? As opposed to the Washington Commanders.
Right.
And instead of settling for a field goal at the end of the game, Daniels took one right in the chops and dropped it in the bucket to McLaurin and told everyone to drive home safely. And I said to Terry, hey, looks like you went to the sideline, and with all due respect to everybody else that you've had, you realized you finally have your quarterback. And he's like, yep. Yeah. That's the way he felt. No, I think the rest of the team felt. Dan Quinn has that positive energy as well. It's all working right now, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's an X factor, right? Isn't it? I mean, it's like, a bunch of men coming together, and you hit the nail on the head with this word hope. On every play, there's a sense of hopefulness, that they can be successful, and that translates out into the stands, obviously, but yeah, man, it's pretty cool. And, and McLaurin is key as well. in this last game against the Titans, first play, get the ball to 17.
They've been having trouble doing that the last 2 games.
Absolutely. Get him engaged. You've got some great weapons. Obviously, the running game now is, with Eckler, man, that was a crazy thump that he took.
I think he'll be back soon, maybe, hopefully after the bye. You never know.
Got the bye, but you see Brian Robinson Jr. is not to be toyed with. And also McNichols and Chris Rodriguez, who was on the team, off the team, back in that guy's a spark.
Did you see the way the team reacted when he hit the end zone and he scored?
That was his first TD.
It was a huge celebration on the sideline.
He's been on the team for a couple seasons now, and every time, like, that dude has something. He just has. He's an aggressive runner, and I think it's good, man. And defense stepped up, came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden we've got a well-rounded football team.
What do you think about? I've got Jeffrey Wright here. We'll get to the agency in a second. What about a stadium downtown? I mean, that will change the tenor of the city, right? And everything else, and the going to a downtown stadium. That's in the works. I mean, I think that'll happen.
Well, it'll change it by going back to where we came from. It's not actually downtown.
Okay.
It's in Southeast DC, which is where I grew up. And back in the day, most people who were at RFK Stadium on the banks of the Anacostia River in Southeast DC would only come to Southeast DC for a football game. I lived about 10 minutes away from the stadium, so it always felt like everybody was coming finally to the verboten, the forbidden land, which was Southeast. Long story. Well, if you know the city, I mean, Southeast has its rough spots, but it's a bit of a, it is a bit of a no man's land for some people, but everybody would gather there for these games. And so not only that, but I think I might have mentioned this before, what's beautiful about that piece of ground is it's not just grounds for a sports venue. And obviously they just had the, Congress allowed for the lease to be extended to the D.C. government along with a sports venue, which was the complicating matter. So they've allowed that. They passed that resolution. That's great. But it's if you look at the map, it was Robert F. Kennedy Memorial Stadium. It wasn't just a sports venue. It was also a memorial, because at the far end of D.C. on the other side is the Lincoln Memorial. Then you have the Washington Monument. Then you have the Capitol, the Supreme Court, all these things. It's in alignment with all of that. It's really an incredibly powerful symbolic place, to play football and to gather, particularly in Washington, D.C., because I've said it before, and everybody who knows the history of this team knows this. That team, when it's successful, is the only force in Washington, D.C. that unites the place. Well, and God knows we need that now, and how we're going to get there, who knows? But it's the only thing that works across aisles in the city. So, yeah, coming back to that place where there's so much wonderful success would be amazing. And I know they're working hard to do that. They've made great strides in getting us to this point. And, yeah, it'll be super cool. I think Josh actually described it at one point as the coming back to the spiritual home of the franchise, and it certainly is that. Man.
Last question for you on this: do you think they'll change the name? Do you think Commanders sticks? What do you think? Would you want it? Would you want it to stick?
I think everybody has issues with the name. There's a kind of schizophrenia about the team now. People like wanting the old people. You see, and it's not a unifying thing. And I have some ideas. I have some ideas.
So you have the ear of your former campmates.
Yeah. Well, yes. We'll see. We'll see. I think there's more primary fish to fry right now, which is one, continuing to win on the football field.
Yes.
And then also the stadium stuff. But yeah, I think we can do better. Again, I think there's been an extraction of everything relative to the new era that undermine the success of the team. And so, we'll see.
Have you run into Magic at any of these games?
Yeah, I've seen him, yeah.
How great is this? Magic Johnson's part of ownership?
Yeah.
For the Washington Commanders?
Well, as I've said before, we want winners. as Vince Lombardi said in his press conference when it was announced, I think in '69, that he would be the head coach for the then Washington Redskins. He says, "Yeah, I'd like to be a winner the first season. You know, why wait?" Magic Johnson wants to win, so glad to see him there.
I love it.
Glad to have him on board.
Jeffrey Wright here on the Rich Eisen Show. One of your many appearances here. First time the Commanders are 8-5 and in a playoff spot. So I'm very happy for you.
Thank you.
And now the agency. It's awesome. There's 2 episodes that are out there. Again, subscribers with Paramount Plus with a Showtime plan can see it. When you first had this placed in front of you, I assume you knew about Le Bureau, the French show that this was based on, or what happened when you got this placed in front of you?
The first time that I heard about the prospect of revisiting the French series was with a different group that was trying to bring this to fruition. So that's when I started to watch Le Bureau. I saw a few episodes. I liked it. It was grounded. It had a kind of realism to it, and but that group kind of moved aside, and then I was approached with this iteration. Smokehouse, which is George Clooney and Grant Hesloff's company, was involved. David Glasser, who's had incredible success with Yellowstone and other things, was involved. Michael Fassbender was on board, and Jez and John Henry Butterworth had written the scripts, and so I read the scripts, and I was intrigued. But I like, I grew up in D.C., obviously, and so I like stuff that is set in, the kind of the political quagmire as it exists now. It's curious to me. It piques, pricks my interests. But what I really appreciated about this was the quality of people who were involved. I've learned over time that just like with teams, and it comes from partly from having played team sports growing up, is that, you're only as good as your teammates, man. It's a team game. And so when you have people like the people we had, have involved in this, we know that we're kind of, we're going for high quality stuff. We want to win.
Sure.
It's like building a winning culture. It's the same. There are a lot of overlaps between this type of storytelling and the storytelling that happens on the field. But yeah, great group of people involved, super hardworking, smart scripts, grounded in kind of the geopolitics of the day, but not overtly political, really like exploring the relationships between these characters and their kind of psychology and the inner tensions of working for, a very complicated agency, the CIA, but at the same time trying to do the best they can in trying to balance their loyalties to their work and country and those responsibilities, and also their work to, their loyalties to their own humanity and to love and family. So, yeah, it's layered stuff. We had a great time doing it. We just finished like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, is this the first time that you worked with Richard Gere?
Yeah,
as well. It's the first for you
time.
with him.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, Richard's great.
Dude, that guy's been in so many amazing pop culture touchstone movies and television shows.
Iconic.
And
but what's wonderful about him is, he shows up wanting to get down, wanting to go to work, and you never know. You're working, man, it's Richard Gere. Oh wow. Me and Michael, we'd worked about a couple weeks before Richard showed up, and then he gets there and sits down, and away we go. We just found a way to build together. It's again, going back to the sports metaphor. It's like, everybody being on the same page and finding a way to work together, to matriculate that ball down the field. And we found a great vibe and a great way of working off one another, and digging down through the material, and it was really we had a really good time. And
you were saying that you shoot this in London, and the studios are right near where the Vikings and Jaguars were staying when they were playing their games.
Yeah, we're about 20 minutes 20-minute bike ride, which is why I stay at the same hotel. Yeah, they were the same hotel that I stayed at when I'm working.
Fantastic.
Actually, when I worked on the Batman, I stayed at this hotel. That was the first time. It was a little different then, though, because during the pandemic, everything was on lockdown.
I'm sure.
And it's about a 200-room hotel, and no restaurants were open, no bars were open, and there were 3 of us in that hotel. I was there for about 6 months.
My God, sounds like The Shining.
It was, and the madness that follows, it was exactly that. It was crazy. But anyway, that's where the Vikings and the Jaguars stayed. Yeah. And so, yeah, I stay there because I can bike to work. It's like as I say, about 20 minutes, about 10 minutes uphill. So it's like my morning coffee. So then I'm coming back home one day. I'm coming on my bike, coming back home from the studio in the afternoon. And the sun was still up in, London. The sun in the winter goes down at like 10 in the morning. But anyway, I come back, and they've got my whole bike route blocked off. They got the football field out there, and they set up a pop-up training facility and all that. They're like, you can't come through here. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm going home, man. I'm just getting off work. You got to go. I was like, okay. Yeah, they took over the whole.
Hey, listen, it's
facility.
the National Football League,
Yeah,
Jeffrey Wright.
Big time.
I mean, so you, Justin Jefferson, and Richard Gere would bike to work.
Well,
pretty much.
I don't know if Richard biked. He's super fit though, but no, I was the only one. I was the only one biking.
Hey, before I let you go, I've never asked you this question. I'll ask it before I let you go. You got a good Anthony Hopkins story from Westworld. You got one where, because I mean, this guy's knighted. He's Sir Anthony Hopkins, for crying out loud. And what do you got for me on the set of Westworld?
Tony is incredible. I mean, Tony. Like, we show up on set to rehearse, might be 6:30 in the morning. That guy's going full bore. 6:30 in the morning, and he's like 80-some years old. Super energized, super quick mind, and he's just charging. But his thing is built into his contract that he has limited hours on set. He's not doing the 17-hour day at 80-plus years old. He's not, nah. So I think he had 9, 10 hours, whatever. So one day, we're doing this scene, and it's hot, because we film up north of LA in the high desert, and it's hot as hell. And we're supposed to be outside walking up this dusty road back and forth. And I think however long we'd been there, it was almost 5 o'clock, and we were hitting Anthony's time to blow the whistle, and. We were walking the thing, and I look at Fred, the director, and he's kind of trying to figure out the shot. And I say, man, you better figure this out pretty quick, because I don't think Tony's walking down this hill too much more. And he's like, okay, you got it. Sure enough, 5 o'clock hit. We walked up. Tony said to Fred, time to go. And we were done.
That's it.
It was it. It was like, yeah,
He
enough.
called cut.
Okay, I'm off. Bring the car. I mean, he didn't know anybody anything. He's paid his dues, and he's 80 plus years old, and it's like 105 degrees out there. Tony said, "Time to go home." So we did.
Do you ever? Again, you're here with this guy, and any time that's alone time, do you ask him about Silence of the Lambs or anything like that, or do you that's just not the way you handle business?
No, we talked about a lot of stuff.
The Titans here.
We talked about his career. We talked about politics. I mean, we talked about history. He's broad interests. I mean, his career is an interesting one, or is almost a singular one, because he comes from the kind of that Olivier, Shakespeare, London actor days, and he kind of goes from there to Westworld, and there are not a lot of people who do that. He might be the only one. So we talked a lot of things. He told me, I'll tell you another story.
Sure.
I don't know if I should tell this story.
Oh, well, now we're in it.
Okay. So Tony, there's a guy in my neighborhood in Brooklyn that I used to see, who was would drink and was really ugly.
Okay.
And when the show came out, he said that I saw him in the neighborhood. He was a lovely guy, except when he drank. And I saw him. He said, "Yeah." He said, "I see you're in this new show. This is years ago with Anthony Hopkins." He said, "Tony's great." I said, "How do you know Tony?" He said, "I know him from Los Angeles. He's kind of a mentor to me because he was in AA programs, and Tony had issues with alcohol, and is now a major figure apparently among people who are recovering." He told me this story that he had been up for a role, or was going to do a role with Olivier at the National Theater. I forget the role, some piece of Shakespeare. And for whatever reasons, maybe he involved, behavior, he was pushed aside. And another actor, Christopher Plummer, was given the role, and Tony was replaced. He said that he went to see forgive me, Tony, if I'm divulging this, but it's a lovely story. He went to see the show, and he'd had a couple. And he went backstage after to express his thoughts to Christopher Plummer on his performance, which were not complimentary. He went off, apparently.
Oh my!
Again, this was prior to his being sober, which he has been for decades now. And anyway, so he left. Years pass, decades pass, something like 45 years.
Wow.
Pass.
Yeah.
And he runs into Christopher Plummer, and he apologizes. Christopher Plummer's like, "What are you talking about, man?" But I just thought it was it's so indicative, I think, of who he is, and just a wonderfully humble and gracious and kind of compassionate story.
So he held on to it
for 40 plus years.
And Christopher Plummer didn't recall it.
But it meant something. It meant Tony had to make amends.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So glad I asked you about him. The Agency, again, is available right now. The first 2 episodes are out there for subscribers with Paramount Plus for the Showtime plan. I am watching it. You will get hooked. It is awesome. The cast is amazing. And everything about it, from soup to nuts, is worthy of your attention and time. You're the man, Jeffrey Wright.
You are the man, Rich.
I appreciate you saying that, and anytime.
As I said, when I was at that Ann Arbor hotel, I saw your identity card. You are clearly the man, at least at that hotel.
Unbelievable that they use my photograph and ID. And as I think I probably said to you, I open doors. That's what I do.
Well, you are a notable alum.
Thank you, sir.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.